What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Killshot MMA podcast from DFSARMY. It's UFC 293. Our main event is Israel Adesanya taking on Sean Strickland. Somehow that motherfucker has a title shot, and we're going to talk all about it, break down some bets, break down some DraftKings. I am Sniper with Monk. Look, it's not the best pay-per-view card in the world, but it's a solid fight card. It's not a trash card. Gets real thin because of some cancellations. I'm not gonna fault the UFC with it. At least they got some fights on here. We will see some violence. I'm looking forward to the card overall. Monk, what are your quick thoughts on UFC 293 before we get going?
Yeah, I agree. On paper, maybe not the strongest card, especially the main event when we got, the Pleasure Man and then a UFC debutant. However, these fights could prove to be extremely entertaining, so I'm not discounting that. Very much looking forward to this. And lastly, I apologize if I'm a little laggy. I think on the other side it'll come out okay, but something's going on with my camera, and I'll figure it out. But other than that, I am honestly looking forward to it. I'm excited to see the main event and the co-main for sure.
If it bothers you guys, just pretend you're watching a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, exactly.
I can point and go, Gayaka! And if we had a shit ton of fans, that'd be a meme, but
that's true. Someday
I'll get canceled.
I will get memed, by God.
So again, we're going to talk DraftKings. We're going to talk betting, all of that good stuff. Do we have it real quick before we get into it? Smash that like button for me. Leave a comment. What is your favorite pick of the card? Whether it's DraftKings play. I think my camera just shifted down on me. So excited to just bump my camera. What is your favorite play on the card? Whether it's a bet, a DraftKings play, what do you got cooking up? Share with your friends, guys. So that being said, let's dive into the main event. No need. I say it every week, and I think I'll continue to say it. I'm not gonna draw it out. You want to be here for all the fights? Great, watch the end. But let's get to what everybody wants to talk about. Israel Adesanya. He is a minus 650 favorite, taking on Sean Strickland, a plus 475 dog. On DraftKings, we got 9,700 and 6,500. I have been to enough Israel Adesanya fights, main event fights in my lifetime in person that I'm glad this is in Australia and not an MSG again. Look, it's great to watch, and obviously the last one against Pereira I was at was a great fight, but I was also at the Cannonier fight. Okay.
Yeah.
I was at the Brunson fight, which good fight, but that's because Brunson's a lunatic. It has nothing to do with Izzy. It's one of those. Since Adesanya stopped the walkout shenanigans, which hopefully he brings back, it's not as good. The best part about his UFC 276 fight was the Undertaker purple and all that stuff, and then the fourth round I could bounce because everybody else was leaving. This fight, though, we're going to talk about. Look, I gave that lead into it because I think we all know the breakdown for this fight. Adesanya is the way better striker. Strickland, if he puts out enough volume, he's probably going to get himself knocked out unless he can somehow overwhelm Izzy. I don't think he's a good enough wrestler to get him down. He's got the typical, throwing 4-ounce gloves, anything can happen. And we're going to say that a bunch on this card because there's a lot of fights with high inside the distance props. This is, unfortunately, it's a title fight. It's a lot to go by. I don't think there's a good spot to bet on this fight. I started doing TikToks where favorite bet for every fight. I bet you somehow in here I end up on an under, whether it's 3.5 or 4.5 rounds, because Izzy is a point fighter. I think Strickland's just going to get himself knocked out at some point. I mean, he's really tough. Pereira flatlined him. I don't know. I'm not even bothered. I have to go look at the odds. The lines are gross. The DraftKings prices are gross. Sure, you could stack it in cash games, but I'll be under in GPPs. And honestly, you can make the argument that if all of the it's more likely that Strickland's on the optimal for DraftKings in a situation where all the favorites win and he lasts 5 rounds versus Adesanya getting a big score at 9,700 making the optimal. So VIPs and DFSARMY hang out tomorrow. The VIP show. We'll see how we're going to attack it for tournaments when we get some ownerships. And if you're not a VIP member, links are below and sign up. But that's about as much love as I can give this fight. What do you got, Monk?
Yeah, get in the VIP for sure because you are going to want to see ownerships. Honestly, you want to see ownerships every week. That should be one of the not one of the main, but a big part of at least your personal ownerships overall. So I'm excited to see that as well. You know me, I like to get a little different every now and then. This is not the case, okay? You broke it down perfectly. The upside here is clearly with Strickland. Adesanya at 9,700. So I'll just give you a couple stats, but I agree with Sniper completely here. And I don't mind it in a stat cash either, but 97 is a lot for Adesanya. His average salary since 2021 is only $9K. So he's significantly more expensive for that. And what do you get when you pay for him? Well, you get 87 points a win. And if you go up to only 5-round fights, it only goes up to 89. And that's me rounding up. 22% of the grappling time he controls. I mean, we know what Izzy is. I don't need to go into it. I just thought the 9K average salary was a bit interesting since he's 700 more than that. And everyone seems to think that Strickland, I keep hearing this. Oh, Strickland, he just needs to come in here and take Izzy down. He needs to take Izzy down. Sure, he does need to take Izzy down. He's attempted 28 takedowns in his UFC career. That's 19 fights, guys. That's barely, barely over one per fight. I don't think that's going to be the game plan here. So yeah, give me Adesanya, lower DraftKings score. Sean Strickland has the GPP upside, but what are we doing here? I mean, what's his actual percentage to win? So I agree with Sniper. Don't mind the stack in cash. Hopefully Strickland can make it 5 rounds and put up a 30, 40, 50 point score.
Let's talk about Thai. Bam Bam! Tuivasa taking on Alexander Volkov. Tuivasa is plus 200 and 7,400 on DraftKings as the dog. Volkov is minus 245, 8,800 on DraftKings. Big boy swinging big leather. Monk, you take this one first.
That is for sure big boys. I mean, Tuivasa, we all know how big he is. Volkov's like listed at 6'7", 80-inch reach. So he's got those extremely long legs, make it perfect for those middle kicks to come up and hit Tuivasa right in the gut. We've seen it happen before with other fighters, and he does not like that. However, Tuivasa at 7,400, we're going to talk about average salaries. I mean, he's $400 cheaper than his average salary, which also seems pretty low to me, but he has fought some beasts in the octagon lately. So there's always the chance that he could land that power shot and just dead Volkov, and you get all your bonus points, and he makes the optimal at 7,400. You kind of got to keep him in your lineups because of that. I mean, when he does win, 80 bonus points, almost 81 bonus points per win, huge power index, over 12.5x average value. His round one wins and losses are extremely high. So you want both sides of this one. Honestly, I think this is another reality check, kind of like the Adesanya fight. Like, what's actually going to happen? Volkov's probably going to try to piece him up from distance. I wouldn't be surprised if Volkov got a late second, early third finish. I'm going to pick Volkov overall just because of his striking and his range control and those kicks I mentioned. But dang, if you got to have Tuivasa in your lineups, guys. You can't. It's like Derek Lewis. You got to have him in there. So play both sides. I like Volkov in cash, and I like Volkov for the win.
What's interesting is I want to see ownerships, and I'm definitely going to be looking at that tomorrow with the VIPs. And it's how much ownership is Tuivasa going to get, because it's just that big KO punch. Now, he's got a lot of it. I'm not going to say I'm not going to play him, but he gets knocked out too. He gets finished. Volkov is a dangerous striker. I know he got finished by Derek Lewis late, but he is more technical. I actually think he could do a lot of good work to the body of Tuivasa. He throws a lot of teep kicks right up the middle. The body, I see body work being a big one, but he could also choose to be technical and just frustrate Tuivasa to a lower score. So it's not an all-in fight. And surprisingly, this fight is only the third highest inside the distance prop fight on the card. So you don't have to slam it all in, which is great because I see the path to the Volkov decision not getting there. But the big guys, big leather. I actually think Volkov, because he's fighting Tuivasa on a pay-per-view card, I think Bam Bam's ownership is going to be a little bit inflated, just what we've seen in the past. And I kind of want to just be a little bit over on Volkov. I don't think it's going to take that much. And I do think he wins. He's just a more technical fighter, and Bam, who I love to watch, needs the KO. When you're handicapping fights, it's just, I'm going to make a pick later that illustrates that perfectly. Moving on to Manel Kape. He is taking on Felipe dos Santos. Kape is a minus 395 favorite. Dos Santos is a plus 310 dog. Kape is 9,300 on DraftKings. Dos Santos is 6,900. And I get the pleasure the absolute pleasure of breaking this one down first. Look, UFC wanted to keep Manel Kape on the card. It's not his fault he keeps losing fighters. And credit, he was on think on this card he was supposed to fight Kai Kara France. He pulls out, and instead we get Felipe dos Santos. Felipe dos Santos is 7-0. He was supposed to fight on the Contender Series a few weeks ago, I believe. And that's the problem is Manel Kape is a world-class fighter who is, what's his record is technically, 17-6. Got 23, or no, 18-6. 20, this is going to be his 25th pro fight. Tons of experience in the UFC, in Ryzen. He's just, Dos Santos is just not at this level yet. They're both strikers. I don't think Dos Santos is going to go out and get takedowns. The issue here is the price. It's hard to me to imagine a world where Kape is going to lose outside of a flash knockout or a really bad decision, but I just don't see it happening. I think Kape wins here. There's levels to the game. Credit to the kid for stepping up, but this is a fucking rough step up in your UFC debut across the world on pay-per-view against Manel Kape. Now you can say, hey, that means no one's expecting shit from me. I can go out and let it hang loose, and maybe, but it's hard to. That's a reason to pick you because skill-wise, Kape looks better. Experience-wise, Kape has more. Kape is not declining, coming off of a win over David Dvorak and knockouts over Ode Osborne and Zhalgas Zhamagulov. Again, and his UFC losses are Pantoja and Mateus Nicolau, which are no jokes. Those were his first two UFC fights. So that's the level everybody thought he was coming in. Took him a little bit to get his feet under him. I think he's there. I think he styles here. I think there's a couple other favorites I like more in the 9K range, but I actually, and with minus 350-ish, I don't hate him as a parlay piece if that's your game. Like, I think he wins this fight pretty comfortably. So for me, Kape is the pick and play, and not much interest in Dos Santos. Monk, how about for you?
Yeah, same. I think Dos Santos could end up being pretty decent, get a couple of wins here in the UFC, but like you said, it's simply too soon. Manel Kape, if you remember, was in talks to fight Davison Figueiredo when he was down to move to 125, or not move to 125, but just after that Moreno. Oh, sorry, I got him confused with Moreno for a second. But then that fell through, and then he was supposed to fight Kai Kara France, who has fought for a title recently and fought for a number one contender fight recently. That fell off now, and now he's got Felipe dos Santos, 7-0. Like you said, Kape's got 24 fights. This is just not the time for Santos. He just doesn't have the experience here. He'll be 23 years old like a couple of days after the fight, basically. So kid is 22. I just don't see it, man. I mean, I got Manel Kape here. I like him for cash a lot. I don't mind him probably for GPPs, hoping he gets an somewhat early finish. Those guys you mentioned, let's see, 131 he put up against Zhalgas in 4 minutes of fighting, which is pretty dang good. And then just under the 5-minute mark for Osborne, put up 107, almost 108. So didn't look too great in the Dvorak fight. Got taken down twice, only 70 points. But Felipe dos Santos, I think he's going to get what they call a vet lesson here, and it's just how it goes. So I'm glad Kape is on the card. I'm glad he's getting a fight. 9,300 is a bit much, but I don't mind it here against the debutant.
Moving on to Justin Tafa, taking on Austin Lane. Tafa is minus 200. Lane is plus 170. DraftKings price, Tafa is at 9,000. Lane at 7,200. I'm going to get our ass lit on fire for my take on this one, I believe. Hint, hint. So, Monk, you get to go first before I say something stupid. Which I will.
Yeah, man, so glad we got that eye poke so we get to see this again, especially on the main card here. I think what were the stats in the last one? Lane landed like 3 strikes before he poked Tafa's eye, 2.5 inches.
There was like no fight to go off of.
There was no fight, none whatsoever. In fact, I didn't even put the stats in from that fight because it was a no contest in on mine. So I got nothing for Lane except his last 5 strength of schedule is terrible. However, he has a gigantic height advantage, huge reach advantage as well. And Tafa's got the one-shot finishing power that we know of Tafa. He's also fighting at home, which could play a role in this. You never know. We've seen some English and some French fighters recently perform extremely well at home. So that could be. So I don't really like to cap off of nonsense like that, but I've capped off of worse things before. So yeah, it's Tafa early, or it's probably Lane outside of the first round. But I I don't think 9K is too bad for Tafa. He's like 350 over his average salary. I guess I got to play a little of both. I want more Tafa just because of the tremendous DraftKings upside, but I mean, what are the stats here? Tafa has been KO'd once before in his career. It was not in his last 5. So yeah, I guess Lane for the long game and Tafa early. I don't know. I'm not really looking forward to this one outside of the first round.
So I'm pretty sure I know what, again, I teased it early. In his UFC career, Tafa's got 6 UFC fights. He's been to 2 decisions already. This fight is minus 900 to end into the distance. That number,
that's crazy.
I gotta find what it is to go to decision, because I'm probably gonna play it, because I'm picking Austin Lane in this fight, which is the crazy thing. I think I might get in trouble for. Look, if you've watched me break down fights before or for a long time, thank you. But you've heard this and keep doing it. I really appreciate it. But you've heard me say this a bunch. I hate picking fighters outside of Derek Lewis who have to have the KO to win. Austin Lane is going to win the minutes of this fight, even in Australia. It's hard to imagine a scenario where Austin Lane is not winning minutes. He has to, just when he gets hit, maintain consciousness, which admittedly is not an easy thing to do against Justin Tafa, who has big power. I will say Justin Tafa's KOs, as great as they are and as quick as they are, in the UFC, it's Parker Porter, Harry Hunsucker, Juan Adams. I'm not super impressed there.
One of those guys is the worst heavyweight we've ever seen.
Yeah. Not saying I can't. I'm not saying don't take it as I'm trashing the guy, because the dude is big. The dude clearly hits fucking hard. He can strike clearly. My perspective is that Austin Lane is going to win the minutes. Just has to stay conscious. It's really what it is. And he looked decent. He looked decent it was 30 seconds of that fight, but he looked like he can move pretty well. It is concerning because he was knocked out by Greg Hardy and Frank Tate, and it was the other one. Gotta pull it up. Hardy, Tate, Vernon Lewis. So he's been knocked out in the first round before. So I don't want to pay this price on Justin Tafa. I'm going to toy with some funny big plus money bets here in terms of my favorite bet for each card to play a little bit of. So I don't like, even I'm picking Austin Lane. It's so volatile. Do I really want to make the plus money bet on it? I know there's value in it implicitly. It's just, I don't know if I can pull the trigger on such a high volatility fight. DraftKings. Fight's going to score well. If Tafa wins, he scores well. It's probably the first round knockout. And if Lane wins, he doesn't need 100 points. He's 7,400. I like this fight a ton. It's going to be towards the top of the charts here. Both sides have upside for DraftKings. I'm picking Lane for the reasons I outlined before. And we're just going to kind of see what happens. And the most surprising thing to me that could happen here would be Tafa winning a decision in terms of like a robbery type decision. Maybe Lane just survives, but if like the hometown cooking thing, I don't think that's going to happen. I think I think we're going to know who won this fight. I just thought of one scenario. Maybe Lane tires out Tafa and it's a heavyweight hug fest for the last 10 minutes.
Oh, no.
Let's all pray against that and move on to our next fight. Got Tyson Pedro taking on the Pleasure Man. I mean, come on. You have to love saying the Pleasure Man. Anton Turkalj. Pedro's minus 110. Turkalj is minus 110. It's a pick 'em fight. Pedro's 8,000 on DraftKings. Turkalj is 8,200 on DraftKings. So pretty much just straight up pick 'em fight. I am excited about getting to do this one first. I'm really looking forward to watching this fight. Tyson Pedro is an interesting case of how good is he? Is he a fraud? Is he not? Is the UFC building him? Like, he's an interesting kind of case here. I cleaned up on Modestas Bukauskas in February. Like, that was, Bukauskas is good. Got some rough UFC breaks, in his first stint. Roundtree, old Jay Shuck Crute. That's fucking crazy. And then, Tyson Pedro, and then they fed him Zach Paluga last time out. So, again, I think Pedro's just a low-level UFC fighter. That's kind of where I think Anton Turkalj is at this point. And it's funny, I was just clicking through Topology. Petrino, who's Turkalj's last opponent, is going to fight Pedro's last opponent, Bukauskas.
They love round robining these guys.
Well, yeah, they do. Well, especially the higher weight classes. There's only fucking so many of them. So, anyway, to the point here, what's going to happen in this fight? I like the wrestling style of Turkalj. I think it's going to be better on top. Yeah, Pedro has kind of surprised me with how good his grappling is, but I don't think it's going to stand up to Anton Turkalj. He's got plenty of ground and pound victories, rear naked chokes on his record. You watch him; he's just better on top. Yeah, the submission loss to Jailton Almeida, that doesn't fucking count. Let's go to the next one. And Vitor Petrino, he had moments in that fight. Vitor, I think, is a bit underrated and has been a violent guy, and he made it all 3 rounds in that fight. Whereas, again, I got Pedro, who's got that win over Harry Hunsucker and over Ike Villanueva, and a loss to Shogun Hua, and a loss to Oven St. Holy shit, what am I saying? And a win to Staffordbeg Safarov. Oh shit. Like, he's okay, but anytime he fights anybody good, he shits his pants. Like, he did beat Paul Craig. That's the one. That was his UFC debut. No, the second fight. And that's when we started to see this up, down, how good is he? I don't see him making great improvement. I like what I see from Turkalj. I think the grappling's the biggest edge in this fight. It is a pick 'em fight, so I lean towards Turkalj as the pick. DraftKings, pass on and cash games way too volatile, and I'll just be for these mid-range fights that are close like this. I don't think it's an over on both scenario. It's because it's going to be the field's going to mush this one. It's going to be about 25% for each guy. That's what I think is going to happen. Go a little over the guy you like and a little under the guy you don't like. For me, it's Turkalj. Monk, who you got?
Yeah, I tend to agree. Except I am on the fence, or I'm on my own side about the Pleasure Man as a UFC nickname, for sure. So it's pretty difficult for me to back Turkalj at this point. But I've worked myself into a corner on the whole nickname thing. It's me against the world here, Sniper. But yeah, Pedro.
Wait. You ranked the Pleasure Man as a terrible nickname?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's bad.
Fuck off the show.
That's a bad. That's a terrible. What are we doing for fighting? You got to name the Pleasure Man for your fighting nickname. What's going on here?
That's I like hilarious stuff like what is it, Dakota Harry Bush. Make Bruce Buffer say the most ridiculous thing he possibly can.
Bruce Buffer didn't say it. He refused to say it.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he just called him Dakota Bush. Hilarious. That's how you know me and Bruce are on the same page here.
Hey, Bruce. Right? Bruce. Let's be a little juvenile here. Come on. Who's that?
So yeah, I just something about somebody that looks like a Swedish racquetball coach nicknamed themselves the Pleasure Man and is now fighting at light heavyweight. I just can't
exactly look at this motherfucker.
I know
exactly what he looks like.
Dude, if he puts a yellow and blue headband on, he's going to be teaching all of our girls racquetball, and we don't want that.
Yeah, it's the start of that porn that I did. Yeah,
exactly. He fixed the cable. Exactly. Tyson Pedro, huge DraftKings upside, 5 UFC wins, all 5 in the first round. You got to roster him at least at the field for that, even if it is against scrubs, which I do agree. Scrubs like Harry Hunsucker and Ike Villanueva. Turkalj.
Scrub is a level.
Yeah, I agree that we got to throw the Almeida. I always think of the Sopranos when I hear that the first season when Meadow and her friend are singing it. I don't know why, but I always just think of that. It's insane. Vitor Petrino fight, yeah, it was 12 takedowns in that fight, man. That was crazy. So yeah, give me Pedro early, give me Turkalj, I guess, late. If this goes out of the first round, I'm going to be very frightened for my Pedro pick. And if it goes 7 minutes or longer, I'm just going to toss that one out. So yeah, it's either the KO power of Pedro and the home crowd as well, or Turkalj is going to wrestle fuck Pedro to death, and that's going to be that.
Speaking of the hometown crowd, Carlos Ulberg, -270, taking on. Oh, I think did I type in the wrong Jung? I think I typed in the wrong Jung.
Oh, you're good. It's just some people list him as Woon Jung, and that's a recent change.
Yep, Woon Jung. All right, no, I'm good. +220. Ulberg is 9,200. Jung is 7,000. Monks, you have the firm grip on which Woon Jung we're talking about. You got.
I trust Tapology on these matters. They still have him at Da Un Jung, whereas everyone else, for some reason, after his last fight, UFC and Sherdog, everybody listed him as Da Woon Jung. So I honestly don't know which is right, but you definitely have the right guy here. I want to back Da Un Jung. I really do. He's an exciting fighter. I mean, he gets,
Why?
he finishes round one finish against Nchekwu. I just like his overall style, his overall like attitude, what he could bring to the cage. However, he seems to constantly underperform. Let us not forget that he took a draw against Sam Alvey when Alvey was like, that's right in the middle of like his 45 fight losing streak. Took an L to Devin Clark, which is never a good look. And then Dustin Jacoby finished him in the first 3 minutes, basically. So I don't know how interested I am in Dao Jung against Carlos Ulberg at home, coming off of 3 straight 100-point wins, 3 straight first round KO TKOs. And Jung, I mean, got KO TKO'd by Jacoby, so Ulberg can easily do that. I just think Ulberg's probably quicker. He's going to be I thought he was going to be the bigger fighter, but it looks like both guys listed at 6'4". I mean, definitely more handsome. Come on now. I mean, Carlos Ulberg, let's go. But yeah, other than that, I think Ulberg, I like him at 9,200. I want to play him in GPPs. I don't mind him probably in cash either. If you want to get off of Manel Kape, I mean, it's not like Ulberg's going to be under-owned, but it's definitely a spot that I don't mind him in. So yeah, give me Carlos Ulberg here. Surprisingly, almost 33 years old. I did not think he was I didn't even think he was in his 30s, but yeah, give me Ulberg GPPs.
I mean, when you're that handsome, you don't really age.
That's true. You're ageless.
Look, Ulberg, another city kickboxing guy. Dude is legit. The only fight he's lost is one where he landed a metric fuck ton of strikes and gassed himself out on Kennedy and Jakewu's face. And then he overcorrected, and that's why he didn't finish Fabio Turan. Otherwise, I'm convinced he would have finished him, but he corrected himself, which good. You made a mistake, you learn from it, and then he's knocked out in Juque and Negomarianu and Poteria in his last 3 fights. He's faster, he's stronger, he's bigger. Da Un Jung underperforms. I don't think he's that good yet, and his exciting style to me leads to an Ulberg knockout. I think the UFC knows exactly what they're doing with Ulberg at home against this opponent in the feature prelim. I love me some Carlos Ulberg this week. What's the line again? I have to refresh my memory. 270, yeah, it's a parlay piece. That's totally fine there. I don't mind that price. I'm going to flirt with the inside the distance numbers as well. Love it on DraftKings. Carlos Ulberg, like him a bunch. And if Da Un Jung beats me, he beats me. And I don't see it. Moving on to Jack Jenkins, minus 200, taking on Chepe Mariscal, or Jose Mariscal, depending on where you are looking. Same guy, he's plus 170. Jenkins is 8,700. On DraftKings, Mariscal is 7,500. On DraftKings, this one is me person that's good, because I can tell you guys a quick story, or sort of a story. So, again, if you don't know, I was with DFSARMY for a long time, left MMA for a little bit, go and do some other things. Recently came back, which has been great. But the fight right before I restarted doing these podcasts for DFSARMY was the Trevor Peak Mariscal fight, and it was the week Geek was going to do the MMA championships, and Peak was like 80% owned across the board. And I put out Chepe everywhere because Peak. Well, now everybody knows, but I was screaming all week. Anybody who would listen to my face that Peak was a fraud, and he got fraud checked. They absolutely did, and I was right. Great. I've gotten some calls wrong, but I only bring that up not to take a victory lap. Although they are nice. That's not the only reason, though. It does apply here. Is that I was all about Mariscal. I was on him. And now I think, just talking about overcorrections last fight, and sometimes they're good, I think the market is overcorrecting here, because you got that fight, you got the Mariscal fight against Peak, and you got Jenkins not turning in his best performance against Jamal Emmers last time out. And I've seen a lot of people picking Mariscal as a dog here against Jack Jenkins. Fuck that. Especially, and I will tell you, Chepe is live because he goes in, he gets into wars, he makes fights dirty, and anything can happen in those type of fights. Sure, it can turn into a phone booth type of fight. I don't see it playing out that way. I'm not saying he's not a live dog, but the amount of people I'm seeing on him has me a little like raising my hand. Like, what are you guys? Are we just a Trevor Peak fight? Because in the Peak fight, like he's a good fighter. He beat Faria in LFA. He's got a Kombache win, a Cage Warriors win, but he's got losses to Sean Soriano and Joe Anderson Brito and Steve Garcia. Like he's not a unbelievable fighter. Like he's a good, solid guy and that's the good, solid guy who's going to beat Trevor Peak. Jack Jenkins is good and solid, and I think he won a somewhat questionable split decision, but that was him on his. That was a low performance, and I think Jamal Emmers is actually a little bit underrated. Jamal Emmers has lost to Giga Chikadze and Pat Sabatini, and Jack Jenkins, and and Thiago Moises, and he always loses to good guys. He doesn't have a huge win on his resume. Really, kind of scan through really quick here. But Jamal Emmers is a well-rounded fighter. He can strike. He can wrestle. He's good. You put Jamal Emmers in there against Trevor Peak, and Emmers finishes him. Like that's just when we're comparing the last fight. I think that's the piece that gets missed. Like, oh, Jenkins didn't look good, and Mariscal just beat up Peak. I'm like, yeah, that's Emmers and Peak. They're not the same. They don't. It doesn't match up. And maybe I'll look stupid here, and Chepe will get a big finish. But Jenkins is the better technical fighter. He's faster. He can mix it up everywhere. If Mariscal tries to drag it into a war, I think he's going to get hurt, finished, and dropped. If he's able to and make it crazy, maybe he gets something done. Maybe. It's possible. But I just think in that type of fight, Jenkins is too good, too quick. It's going to hurt him. And if it goes to decision on top of that, you think Jenkins, if he just got the decision against Emmers, where was that fight? I had to look real quick. That was... So ABC doesn't tell me where it was, though. Come on, Tapology. What the fuck are we doing? Who the fuck was this fight? Oh, Jacksonville. If you think Jenkins has not got a decision in Jacksonville and he's not going to get one here in Australia, I wanted to say New Zealand, and I kept catching myself. Here in New Zealand, you're out of your mind. I think he's got decision upside, finish upside, market overcorrection. I think I've talked myself out, but I saw a bunch of people picking Mariscal, and I don't get it. Monk, are you one of those people? Are you going to tell me why that rant, one of the longest ones I've done in the show since being back, is off here?
I don't know. Well, you did mention Jamal Emmers lost to Pat Sabatini. You know who did beat Pat Sabatini once? Chepe Machine Gun Mariscal back in 2018.
Hey, Geek, if you're watching this somewhere, keep trying to get your NFL and MMA lineups together. MMA math is still bullshit. Come fight me about it.
Well, you just MMA mathed all over your rant. If Emmers would have fought Peak, he would have knocked him out.
He would.
That's MMA math, bro.
No, that's if they did. Say A beat B, so that means B is going to beat C. I'm saying if you put Emmers in the cage against...
So mine's a formula. Yours is a theory. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So
exactly. I'm up here, bro. I'm high level in this shit.
Oh, theory is always lower. Theory is always the start. Then you got to move up to experiments. But yeah, I mean, I like Chepe. I like Jack Jenkins. No, he didn't look good in his last fight. Probably lost to Jamal Emmers. The stats also agree that he lost to Jamal Emmers. Landed 59 strikes, one takedown, less than 2% control time. Very concerning for Jack Jenkins. Meanwhile, Chepe, I think he's a guy that's going to fight for your money no matter who he's fighting. I think this one could easily go all 3 rounds. And Chepe scored, 108 points against Trevor Peak. I think he could easily put up a 50 in a 3-round decision here against Jack Jenkins. That said, he's not 7K this week. He is 7,500. So not the lowest salary, but I believe we just talked about somebody at 7,400. Tuivasa said that we didn't need to score 100 points to make the optimal lineup. So 75 is right there. Chepe did make the optimal lineup against Trevor Peak and his standing hammer fists. Let's not get it twisted. I don't think Trevor Peak is a good fighter either. Yeah, and I do agree
break your stats models. He's going to break your stat models. That's the problem with Peak. He's going to break all your number machines.
Exactly. Yeah, we got to throw that shit right out. So I think this one goes to decision personally, and I think Chepe scores better than most people think he's going to. I don't know if I necessarily pick him to win, but I think he's got a fighter's chance, and I love I love his heart. I think he's tough as hell. And he did not seem phased at all by the wild striking of Trevor Peak. He stood in the pocket and exchanged. So I don't think he's going to back down. And I love to back underdogs like that on DraftKings.
I can't argue with that. I do think Chepe is super tough and is going to fight for your money. I just think Jenkins is a little better, but I can't disagree with that. Chepe's
it's going to be a good fight, dude.
It could be a really, really good fight. If Chepe brings the fight, it's going to be a fun one. Probably, yeah. It's so yeah. I went back to, because don't get it twisted. I'm not saying fade Chepe. He's not a live dog. He is. I just, again, one of those things I'm going to look at ownership wise on Friday or tomorrow. I'm hoping he's not going to be the highest owned underdog on the card. That'll be
right.
That'll make me a little sad.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Let's talk Jamie Mullarkey and John Makdessi, who is, he's still in the UFC. Like, holy shit. Mullarkey is minus 265. Makdessi is plus 215. Mullarkey's 8,900 on DK. Makdessi is 7,300. Remember that time we were all in on Jamie Mullarkey? Everybody in the world played him and he got knocked the fuck out. You guys remember that? Good feelings, right? Good times. Good times. All right, over to you, Monk.
As a minus 400 favorite, dude. What a joke.
Wasn't that on short notice too, where he had like a really good salary?
Against the people are like, who's Muhammad John Naimov? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't like this fight for DraftKings at all, to be completely honest. I mean, Mullarkey has the DraftKings upside. That's extremely clear. I mean, 5.87 points a minute inside the distance. 75% takedown defense, controls 80% of the grappling time, good ceiling, has power, gets chinned as well. So as a fight as a whole, that's a number I really want to play. But Mullarkey is $1,000 over his average salary, guys, of $7,900. He is $8,900 this week, and he's taking on a veteran. No matter what you think of Makdessi, he does not give up points at all. I mean, average per loss, which he has 8 UFC losses, he gives up less than 80 points a loss. His value is not great, so I'm not looking forward to playing him offensively. But his last 5 strength of schedule is okay. I mean, he doesn't fare too well as far as inside the distance pacing goes, which does concern me. He allows 5.9 points a minute in the distance, which is just what Mullarkey scores. But he's got an 86% takedown defense, guys. He's allowed 7 total takedowns in 19 UFC fights. So I have a feeling this one goes to decision. The winner's probably going to score 60, 75 points, and I'm not interested in it for DraftKings. I'm not interested in it for cash because I don't trust Mullarkey at all, especially against a UFC vet, even one that I thought wasn't even in the UFC anymore. So I don't like this for DraftKings. I'm probably going to hit it with a fade. If anything, I might have I can't even say I'm going to have more Makdessi. I'm just going to fade this one.
Yeah, this is the lowest inside the distance prop fight on the card. I raised it a little bit in my rankings that I had in the premium article on DFSARMY. Not a lot, but a little bit, because you mentioned at the start, Mullarkey's pace and pressure. Like, he could, at some point, you think the wheels are going to come off of Makdessi. I'm not going all in this fight. It's a low-level fight. It's a lower-tier fight to target. I do think Mullarkey's just pace and pressure is going to win him the fight. He could get chin checked, though, because we've seen it before. Naimov. And I think Jalen Turner chin checked him. So, again, all of that could happen. He's been knocked out. Real quick, look. He was knocked out by Luke Kadubig, who I don't even know who that is. He got knocked out by a guy who was 5-6 at the time.
Yeesh.
Oh. Okay, I didn't even know that. Volkanovski knocked him out in the regional scene. Jalen Turner, Naimov. So he can be got at. With that type of pressure and the quality of striker that Makdessi is, that wouldn't stun me. He also can get takedowns, and his volume is there, and he's not going to be super high on. I'll play him a little bit. I think he's pretty solid to win. I think the pace and pressure is what's going to get to Makdessi and decide the fight. Just more volume, more chance to score points in general. I don't think Makdessi needs the KO. We know how I feel about that. I've mentioned it a few times, and it became a pretty straightforward breakdown for me. So we move on here to Mini Kelvin. Look, guys, Kelvin Gastelum finally stopped eating tacos. Oh, that's Nasrat Haqparast. He's minus 485 against Landon Quinones at plus 370. Haqparast is 9,500. Quinones is 6,700. Oh, good, I get to go first for this fight. Yippee fucking skippy. Um, Landon Quinones has no business in the UFC. That's not a knock on him. He's just not there yet. He's coming off the Ultimate Fighter this last season, where he was knocked out in 55 seconds by Jason Knight. That's his last fight. Before that, he got a bunch of straight wins in Titan FC, which is a fine regional promotion. He needs a fight in LFA or in Cage Warriors, or maybe get him a Contender Series fight if you think he's ready for it. But he's getting called right up here to take on a legit guy in Nasrat Haqparast, and that's because Haqparast had supposed to fight last week against Sam Patterson. I don't know, or Sam Patterson, excuse me. I don't remember the whole timing of when cards got moved around. I was getting ready for vacation. It just kind of, this card started losing fights. They moved some things around, and here we are. Bob's your uncle. And now we get Haqparast Quinones. Look, Haqparast better everywhere. DraftKings, am I worried about the scoring? Fuck yes, I am. I absolutely am, because he's not a big scorer. Monk will give you the numbers there in a second. And just, if Quinones gets a win and beats me, oh well. He's just on paper and on tape. Well, he just doesn't, there's levels to it. Haqparast has to be the pick. Not a lot of value betting wise on the straight number in this fight at minus 485. But that's probably bet the goes to decision line because it's a lot of decisions on these guys' records. Monk, please save me.
Yeah, I agree. Not only that, but 6,700 is the cursed salary, less than or around a 4% win rate in the past 2.5 years. So not really a targetable salary here. And I completely agree. It's Haqparast all day. Unfortunately, he's 9,500. We're talking about a lot about average salaries this week. His average salary is $8,350 since 2021. So yeah, over 1150 over his average. I'm not paying that for Haqparast. 81 points per win, like Sniper alluded to. Where's my round one numbers? No round one finish wins, no wins ever out of 6 over 100 points. And you want me to pay 9,500 for him? There's a question I'll bring up in the main event, but who's going to be the worst play of the card this week at the top end? Right now, I'm leaning Haqparast, to be completely honest. I think he's probably the worst 9K play this week. I think that's pretty easy to tell. And I like him for the win. I wouldn't even play him in cash. I'm not rostering any. I'll probably have 0% of this fight. And like you said, if it bites me, or if Haqparast somehow gets his first round one victory in the UFC, then fine. But it would be an anomaly, and I'm not playing anomalies.
Let's go to the next fight. We got Blood Diamond, or Mike Manthea, or Mike Diamond. I've seen him listed so many fucking ways. I dislike him just for the name now. A plus 260. Charles Radtke, UFC newcomer, minus 325. Diamond is 7,100. Radtke is 9,100. Monk, I know you've done in-depth tape study on this fight.
Oh, super in-depth. I mean, we got to see, Jeremiah Wells fall down in the cage in Matetta's first fight. Then the barn burner between Orion and Mike. I mean, come on. What more do you want in a fight? I mean, what a shit show that was. Yeah, I'm going with Chuck as far as nicknames go, and I am, as you all know, the number one leading nickname capper in the game. Chuck Buffalo and Blood Diamond. I mean, just fantastic. The opposite of the Pleasure Man. Pleasure Man, take notes on these nicknames here. Give me Charlie Radtke or Chuck Buffalo.
Change his name to the Pleasure Buffalo.
Pleasure Buffalo. I was going to say, why not? It's right there. Nobody else is doing it. I love it. Yeah, I can't back Mike Matettha, Blood Diamond, I guess we'll call him, because that is what he's most commonly, I think, known as. But I just can't do it, man. 1.69 points per minute so far in the UFC, like less than a point per minute inside the distance. There's no good stats. His strength of schedule is not good. He's basically at his average salary, so you're not saving a ton of money. Radtke is a newcomer, so you could play that angle, but I think Radtke is fine, probably around the field for GPPs, and I probably don't mind him in cash. I mean, Blood Diamond's at the point where he's really going to have to start to show us why he belongs here, and I fear that if he goes 0-3, he's not going to have enough time left to do that. So maybe he'll get a fourth fight like De Silva, or I think is 0-4, because Izzy is his close friend and teammate. But other than that, What are we doing here? I'm picking Charlie Radtke.
Yeah, I'm with you here.
So disappointing. Like, it could be a good fight though. Very low level.
Yeah,
But as
I
far
mean,
as
I have to
betting
think
or
breakdown.
DraftKings,
I'm with you. Like, Raki is just better everywhere. He's better.
Yep.
He's probably the better striker. At least striking though, Blood Diamond's got the power, and maybe he lands something. But Radke can grapple. I've seen him shoot takedowns.
Blood Diamond
He's
can't.
like a well-rounded guy, and just a well-rounded guy just spells disaster. So Blood Diamond needs a KO, and I'll mix him in a little bit, but he's 3-2 as a professional. I don't know.
That's the other thing. Is there a UFC fighter with less fights than Blood Diamond? He's had 2 in the UFC, and he is, what did you say? He's 3-2. So he was 3-0 when he came in here. I don't know if there's a man or woman that has less professional fights in the UFC.
Why am
and
I gonna?
It shows.
Yeah. Why invest in Blood Diamond when we have this fight? It is Shane Young and Gabriel Miranda. Young is -170. Miranda is plus 145. Young is at 8,600. Miranda is at 7,600. I know I gave it away in my intro, but I love me some Gabriel Miranda this week. Look, Shane Young, you tell me the fighter who is on a 3-fight losing streak, has not won a fight since 2019 against Austin Arnett, is a -170 favorite, and he's lost to Omar Morales and Blake Builder. Whereas Gabriel Miranda, I know he's was in a war against Benoit Saint Denis. Look who he's turning out to be. Proving me wrong, by the way. I was a Saint Denis doubter until the Moises fight. He went, oh, okay, my bad. I will start changing my tune on that motherfucker. Like, I can admit that. Sometimes you get guys wrong. And Saint Denis is the real deal. It took the Thiago Moises fight, but that ages really well for Gabriel Miranda. And then, he's got plenty of fights against Brave against, Russian guys whose names you probably can't say. He's fought in Pancrase. He's fought all over the world. He's a well-rounded guy, and he's a good grappler. And I think that's the biggest skill discrepancy in this fight to me, is that Miranda is a better grappler than Shane Young and will have moments in this fight. The knock on Miranda is he can be hit. Shane Young doesn't look like he can finish a fucking sandwich right now. Like, Blake Builder had chin issues, couldn't finish him. And I have to give credit to, this is a fight, so this is one of the ones, went on vacation, got sick. This is one of the fights I was late in doing my analysis. I watched a couple of fights, and for the confirmation, I turned to my buddy Newsom. So shout out to Newsom, and I kind of went to his YouTube podcast. Like, am I crazy for saying this? He said the same kind of thing here, in that Miranda can get hit. He's not. I think his words were defensively responsible, but Builder could, or Shane Young couldn't finish Blake Builder, who had the same issue. And I went, that's a really good point, because, well, shit. And now I got a 3 again. Is Shane Young really going to win a UFC fight? I don't think so. I just don't. All time in the UFC, he's 2-4. Got a grappling disadvantage here. Seems to be slowing down. He's live for a knockout, but outside of that, I do think Miranda, like I said a few times, key phrase in this podcast, is going to win the minutes. I like Gabriel Miranda at this price tag. So for me, one of my favorite underdogs on the card. Mug, you agree with the take here?
Absolutely. I can't back Shane Young at any price, like, ever. Like, I don't like anything. I mean, he might be a good dude. I don't like anything about what I've seen in his fights. And you made the points I was just going to make. Miranda got smashed up by Benoit Saint Denis, but that's gone on to show that Benoit Saint Denis can do whatever the fuck he wants to apparently anybody. So he kind of ran through Moises. And in fact, Moises only made it like a minute or two longer than Miranda did. So, what are we going to say about that there? Miranda, also a fantastic mustache, cannot be denied. I'm biased here, man. I'm not going to pay up. I'm not paying a favorite salary for Shane Young ever. What is his average salary? 7,900. So we're 700 over on Shane Young, who scores like 2 points a minute inside the distance, where he also gives up almost 5. So I love what you said. Give me the grappling upside from Miranda, and I'm hoping that Jung is one of the hometown guys that loses this week, because I don't know what it is about him. I'm not picking him. I'm not picking him as a favorite, and I just can't do it. So yeah, give me Miranda. 7,600 DraftKings sounds pretty good for GPP tournaments, I think.
Your turn.
Hooray!
Kevin Jousset minus 155 against Kiefer Crosbie plus 130. Jousset is 8,400. Crosbie 7,800. You can tell just by these pictures I pulled that they are not even on the UFC site. This is a late notice. Oh shit, we need one more fight. I didn't know these guys were going to be in the UFC. Like what? Sure. I'll watch a fight, I guess. And what's weird when you watch these guys fight is they're the type of guys that, like, every time I watch one of their fights, I'm like, oh, he's okay. And then I watch another fight. Oh, he sucks. Watch another fight. Oh, he's okay. Watch another fight. Oh, he's not that good. Like, I don't know. Monk, what'd you come across? And I'll give you my pick after. You technically are first.
As you thank goodness. As you know, I'm a stat boy. I got no stats for this one, man. Like you said, 2 UFC debutants. Jousset has 4 KO TKO wins. He's been KO'd once. The rest of them are decisions. Meanwhile, Crosby's 5-1 in KO TKO finishes, has a couple of subs as well, and 3-0 in decisions. So I believe Crosbie has a little more experience. His strength of schedule is a little bit worse. That's about all I've got, honestly, on this one. UFC didn't even have their heights or reaches as listed as of like yesterday. So I don't even know. Not even Tapology has had anything on Kevin Jousset until maybe yesterday. I have to recheck. But I did figure out he was 30, but they literally didn't even have how tall this guy was. So I don't know anything about it. If you go capped based on just who is it, the tough guys from the other week, they were 84 and 78 and 85 and 77. One of each of those guys made the optimal lineup. So hey, maybe just go to the field on these guys or listen to Sniper. Hopefully he's got more insight than I do.
It's not a ton because they're both, again, I don't know which guy's going to show up. Kiefer Crosbie had a couple Kiefer Crosbie just knocked out Alex Cowboy Oliveira. But that's 2023 Alex Cowboy Oliveira.
Yeah.
Watching a few of each of their fights, I think Jousset is a little better, a little bigger, a little more technical, probably more likely to grapple. It's from City Kickboxing, from the area, and that's the entire breakdown. Like, it's hard to get a great read on either one of these guys. I would not bet this fight other than stupid thing I started, which, it's going well, but now for this fight, I'm forced to make a decision. One bet for every fight. Sure, I guess. Fuck. Crosby, look, and in DraftKings, there's no need to overcomplicate it. I'm probably just going to vanilla this one up, look at the field exposures, look at what I have available in the kind of that price range, who else I've been over and under, and just fit them in last. Like, this is the fight. It's going to be just last. Don't play it in cash. You know what the fuck is going to happen.
No.
And just move on from there. Sometimes you don't overcomplicate things on DraftKings. You don't have to get too cute. If you are, I will say, the one place you want to get cute, if you're playing like a 3-entry max, and you want to throw one of these guys in to there because they're going to be low owned and they could pop off, you have to have the optimal in those contests still, I would lean towards Jousset as the favorite, in the books do too. But again, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it's my strongest take. Kill shots. Let's talk some motherfucking kill shots and get the hell out of here for UFC 293. If you're not familiar with the kill shot, first of all, either way, you aren't, hit the like button or fuck off. Subscribe. Make sure you join us each and every week in this channel. And we got prize pick plays. NFL's coming for all you NFL boys playing DFS, props. There's all kinds of shit. Check it out. Join DFSARMY. Kill shots, if you aren't familiar, though, those under-owned plays. So it can't be the most popular guy on the card. Somebody, so like, who would be an example of not a kill shot? They're typically underdogs, but not always. I don't think that Tuivasa counts as a kill shot.
That's what I was going to say.
He's going to be the chalky underdog. Mm-hmm. So it's typically an underdog or that mid-range fight if you wanted to take a stand on Pedro and Pleasure Man. I think that's acceptable too. And who can break the slate. I mean, you have to know mine. I spent 6 minutes going off on. Well, actually, I did that for Jenkins and Mariscal too. But give me Gabriel Miranda. Shane Young, no thanks. So Gabriel Miranda is my kill shot for the week. Monk, who you got?
Yeah, that's number one with a bullet for me as well. Maybe second place would be Chepe because I'm not confident, but I like him. So I'll go with Tyson Pedro. That's where I'm going to be looking. Underdog pick here. I'll be looking to go over the field for his round one finish upside and my extreme bias toward the pleasure man for based on nothing else except a stupid nickname. But now I've taken it too far and I'm stuck here with my back against the wall. So Tyson Pedro, let's go.
Just gonna die on the hill.
I'm dying on the hill, Bo. I am.
There was a little while where I forgot who. Like I'm not gonna die on the Benoit Saint Denis hill. I will get off that hill.
Yeah,
I was not a believer. But
that's the problem with my hill is that Turkalj sucks. So if he loses, it's like he sucks. But if he wins, then it's over for me.
Yeah, it's gonna. Oh, you can go a little. Yeah, I told you fucking sucked. I told you.
Yeah. Well, then I just shift and I would just start slandering Tyson Pedro. Like, he's nobody, man. Turkalj's beat nobody.
It's true. Totally do that. Just keep riding with it.
Exactly.
All right, that's what we got for UFC 293. One more time. I know I've repeated a bunch, but it helps out a ton, guys. Smash the like button. Tell us in the comments who your favorite play is. If you're not in DFS Army, those links are below. Join us. If you are, I'll see you in the Discord. Ask questions throughout the week. Tons of the VIP only content is out and ready. Have a good weekend, guys. Enjoy your UFC 293, and we'll see you next time.